Everybody, wake up. This is the RemiX Morning Show. You are here on Black Power Media. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and your host for the day is Kalanji Jama Chenga. And we also have Kamal K. Franklin. So let's get it, yo.
Yo, what up?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
The R, the E, the N, the E, the G, the A, the D,
it's Renegade Coach. It's a takeover today.
It's like a takeover, not a makeover.
Okay. That's what happened around these parts, boy. When you don't show up, we turn it back to Renegade Coach around here. What's good?
I don't understand what's going on.
Hey,
all these other folks, they schedule changing. They got things to do, things to go, people to see.
Man,
gotta hold it down.
What's the reason for the treason? What the deal is? What's the plot about? Where they at?
I'm talking about they got classes. They gotta teach this and teach that, and they gotta have real jobs. I understand. Salaries. They got salaries and healthcare benefits. They gotta worry about. What the hell?
Man, so you mean we gotta do a Renegade Coach in the morning instead of RemiX?
I was hoping like there would be like a dream sequence and it go like back to it.
I don't know, man. It's looking real Renegade Coaches up here. Shout out to all our renegades out there, since you know what I'm saying we already know when we already know y'all still with us, so that's the deal. But it is the RemiX Morning Show. We just joking right now. Jared has the day off. I heard he doing some work somewhere. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. What y'all think, man? Is he playing hooky? What's the deal? What's going down?
Hey, that dude got a perfect attendance record. He could take a day off.
Okay.
I know. This is his first time. It was like scary. It's like he's a little comfy blanket. Where's the comfy blanket, B?
Nah, you know what it is. Kamal's outvoted today. You know what I'm saying? No yellow fever today, baby. You're alone on this track. You know what I mean? You left you hanging. You the only singer crooner today, brother.
You left you hanging. Oh, singing and crooning today, brother. It's like a James Brown, 1974.
Man, my man.
Surprise is the Jive Turkey.
That's right.
Turkey.
Right. Jive turkeys. That's how we do around here. Anyway, it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Yep.
The name is Black Mr. Rogers. Say it again.
Oh, no, I was saying, how was folks' long extended weekend? Because, Tuesday is the Monday for us, but for everybody else, might be a real Monday.
Tuesday is a new Monday. Yeah.
Tuesday's a new Monday for us, right? Because Thursday is a new Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I got it. I was there.
Right,
I'm confused. Who's on third? How about that?
Who's playing shortstop?
Yeah. Coffee's on deck.
Yo, I DJ'd all weekend, man. I hope y'all went to Sundays and checked it out. It's pretty dope. Danced all. We did a dance workout, so people were sweating, dancing. It was great. So every Sunday,
Sunday's workout. That's all right. We did a Black August panel on Sunday. Shout out to folks who checked that out, man. It's a real cold joint. Dr. Jared Ball. You know what I'm saying? He was acting like he was hosting. I think he was kind of chilling though, laid back like a pimp. Sonny Patterson came through, rocked with us. My man Kaba was crooning. Speaking of crooners,
I heard. Now I missed the beginning, but I saw him come on at the second. Now did he croon and there was no volume or something like that?
Well, he started off. I think that he was practicing. He's like, something like that. But you know what I'm saying. He didn't want everybody to hear that part. Mama Ayana stopped through. You know what I'm saying. Balagoon came through with the jewels and Dr. Crystal Strong. So it was a real cold joint. Yeah. So if you all missed that, man, 42nd annual commemoration Black August. That's on the BPM channel. Anyway, how you doing, Kamal? Man, books look like they've been read this week. What's good?
I did some dusting and moved some things around. I figured let me move some things. I got like 14 new books in, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we should check out, I mean, this is can I see that?
Wartime.
Yeah, so this organization called Black Men Build. We're doing some work with them.
Okay, shout out to Black Men Build.
And they got some great literature that they putting out around organizing, fighting back against oppression, showing resistance. And so it's hot. It's called Wartime, and they call Black Men Build. So check them out, yo.
Okay.
Now wait a minute. I don't usually do this part.
Okay. What you trying to do?
Why is Jared in the chat?
Wait a minute.
I know.
Hold on, man.
Look at the chat. But why
Hold on, man.
That?
Wait. Wait, I Jared in the chat. We on deck, man. Something's wrong here.
That's like playing hooky at school and looking in the window from outside, like
exactly. He's like, "What's going on? What y'all doing over there? What y'all doing?"
Man,
so instead of teaching, he's over here like this. He's like, "Oh, word, I got a comment to make."
yeah.
Chapter 3. Read that.
he like Meta World Peace when he was hosting the Source Awards and was supposed to been playing basketball when he was going to a funeral. You know,
Malice in the Palace.
Malice in the Palace. You know what I mean?
I just checked it out. That was I talked about it last week, but that was a really good documentary. I mean, I know there was like some shortcomings and stuff, but it still was a good documentary.
No doubt. They have a whole series, matter of fact. I think they have one of the joints, what's her name? The boxer, Chrissy, can't even think of her name right now. But it highlights different athletes' lives and, you know, their risings and fallings and all that good stuff. So, you know, so it was a good little episode. Yeah. But anyway.
Ron Artest was a beast, B. I mean,
Ron Artest was, you know, he definitely was hardcore, but I don't think the elevator was going all the way to the top. I think it kept getting stuck between floors and whatnot. He's supposed to be going to the 7th. Is hanging out between 3rd and 4th floors. You know, that's shout out to Ron Artest.
He even carried a therapist around with him. They say on that. So.
I know. I mean, you got the issues you got to try to deal with them the best way you can. So, but that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, you rolling with a therapist. Yeah, I mean, if you rolling around with a therapist, man, listen, that means you don't want no problem from a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some cats got bodyguards. I got my therapist right here. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that at all times my sage and my incense, you know what I'm saying, is on point. So either you can get the sage, you can get the 12 gauge. What you feel like doing?
So it stopped me from whipping your ass. Stop me from going in the stands, but it didn't work that night.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, he did try to lay down and relax on the bench.
Oh yeah, I mean he was definitely provoked. I mean that's definitely, you know, again, we don't have to recover old ground, but that's definitely like if somebody throws something on you, you got a right to go be like, what the hell? What the fuck?
Yeah,
what's going on?
I wasn't mad at him. He forgot all about that shit. He like, look, man, hold on.
I mean, that go all the way back to the Roman Coliseum days when they just would throw the prisoners in there and they be entertained by the prisoners, so they just look at them still the same way. These are prisoners. Forget them. You know what I'm saying? The disrespect. How they was throwing soda, popcorn on. Yo, it was wild. I would have went up there and wild out too.
I mean, it was like reminiscent of the slave days as well, man. You know what I mean? When you got the two Africans and the bucks and whatnot, and they go up against each other and they fight to the death, and you know, folks put money on them and everything. So that's just, you know, that's America. That's European. That's the white man. You know what I'm saying? That's how we do around here. Anyway, man, it's the Remix Morning Show. Shout out to Jared in the chat. Since we banned him from being in the chat, he decided not to even come in. So I mean, that's just
like, I'm gonna give him this chat.
He's like, I'm for this chat today.
That's his new role. That's his new role.
He a professor of chats.
You better not
anyway. What are we talking about today, fellas?
What we talking about today? We got a few things to talk about. I don't want to shout out Cuomo because it kind of, you know what I'm saying, but he did the right thing on the way out. I'm gonna just say that. You know,
well, he did almost the right thing.
Yeah,
I mean, almost. Some technicalities in there.
He did
almost the right thing. You know, I mean, it speaks to a lot. We could get into when we come back for our news segment. But it speaks to the larger issue of the sort of the weakness of our movement in some ways. But he did almost the right thing, so at least there's a chance now.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I guess he was trying to look out, you know, and hoping that everybody have mercy on him when it's his time to go down. But anyway.
But that ain't gonna help him with the cops. So.
Not at all. Not at all. Hell no. They're like, oh, you fucking up for real now. Yeah, but you know, still fuck him and his father. You know what I'm saying? Andrew Cuomo, who was the architect of many of the prisons in New York. You know you're talking about over what, 34 prisons?
Gave all them white men jobs. All them white men jobs.
Yes. So anyway,
all those black people up in there. Who's our musical guest? Who's our musical guest today?
Okay, we got a musical guest.
This ain't Renegade Coach.
Renegade Coach for real today. We're Minister Server at. You know what I'm saying?
My bad.
All we need is Server and Jai, and we'll be complete. You know Shout out to my man Jai High. Hope he's somewhere high right now. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how he
weights.
He lives in
having on this tight titty shirt in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The server out there talking about hip hop to somebody. You know how it is.
Oh man, shout out to server, man. Server out there.
Server
representing.
3 takes. So yeah, let me start over.
We're gonna get banished, man. Hey, chat room, we can't see y'all, but how y'all doing out there? The remixes, the renegades, the Siafus, and whatever else y'all out there. Africans in the building. Y'all good out there, man? Everybody all right? What's popping?
You expected them to answer?
I was wondering.
I am. I'm expecting somebody.
I was like, what's going on?
I'm expecting somebody to yell through the mic.
He paused. I was like, was he going to expect him?
I'm so used to hosting real shows, man. This whole shit is crazy. It's like how y'all feel out there? I think y'all feel like, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, man, that's what happens around here. Ear Doctor with the ACDC shirt. Is that what that says, brother?
Oh no, that's all nice and decent crew.
Oh, all nice and decent crew.
Yeah,
Okay.
ATL group. In case y'all ain't know.
Shout out to Ekin Dio and shout out to El Sun.
Loose
you know what I'm saying? Loose weed in the building, no doubt. That's all right. That's all right.
Who are they?
Kamau ain't never know how nice of an MC Loose Weed was. He ain't know.
He ain't know. I think Kamau met a lot of these cats in the league. Somebody got an echo, man. What's going on around there, man?
I don't know.
Okay, 1 2 1 2. Is it me?
Yo, I tell you what, I'm gonna go to this break real quick, and we're gonna end this Black August off on the right note. I got a little bit of history lessons and a little bit of people I got to give props to before this Black August is over, even though we extended it for the whole year.
True that.
Okay. All right.
So let's
remix.
Yeah.
Remix in the building. Renegade Takeover.
Yeah. Where we at here? Yeah. What's good, everybody? This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and Black Power Media is the channel you are tuned into. Make sure you hit that like button at the bottom. Subscribe. Tell a friend. It's on again. We do this every Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So make sure you tune in. And if you want to make sure this goes even bigger, go to patreon.com and drop some change on Black Power Media. With that said, we're going to get into one of my favorite historians, and we're going to do something like this. He goes by the name of Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Let's go.
Well, what is the, if there is a Black perspective in history, there is a white perspective in history. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, I'm assuming, that history is being manipulated for an end.
In itself. History, the Europeans began to manipulate history when they rose and began to expand into the broader world in the 15th and the 16th century, because they had to justify the slave trade and they had to justify the colonial system that followed. And modern racism has its incubation in that period. You cannot enslave a man and say he's a human being, that he has humanity, and that he was one of the forerunners of the world's religion. You cannot enslave an African and say this about him, because if you say he's a human being, then you're saying he's an extension of you. Then you cannot sell an African Christianity and call him a heathen and acknowledge the African contribution toward the creation of Christianity. So it's a contradiction in acknowledging that the man created Christianity, then come back and say that you're selling him Christianity because he is a heathen. So the European had to literally strip history of the contributions of non-European people to a certain extent that did this in Asia. Now, what Rogers has done in these two books is to go back and set history in some kind of perspectives based on this information, and all of the information did not come from Black historians. It came from the best records available from all of them.
Now, speaking of information, Rogers has...
That's how we do it right here on Black Power Media. Let's take it back to the Remix Morning Crew. That's how we do it, all right? Yeah.
That was hard right there, man. I like that. Shout out to Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, you know what I mean? Theophila Banger, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, you know what I mean? Marimba Ani, you know what I mean? Del Jones, R.I.P. Renoko Rashidi, one of our latest ancestors, you know what I mean? And all these brothers and sisters who helped us to grit our cultural teeth. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, shout out to them. Also, shout out to the Slave Theater up in New York. And First World Alliance, Sister Kefra, Brother Ben, Dr. Ben, Brother Bill. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, I had a flashback real quick.
Continue with the Renegade Culture Takeover.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, and it's just you and I, come on.
I think like it should be.
Good God Almighty. Should we do this renegade style, or should we how we gonna roll this?
I mean, let's flip the globe when we're ready to flip the globe. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have some globe in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Well, bring that globe. Where that globe at?
Bring that globe back. What up, what up, what up?
What's happening? RemiX in the building.
You know what I'm saying?
What's good?
What we got in the news is breaking down today.
Breaking down in the news today. What's up with the news today, man? I think that you want me to get started? I think that one of the things that's going on right now, it's a lot of corruption. Not that that's news, because of the fact that we already know that the prison system is absolutely corrupt. So today we're going to be talking a lot about political prisoners, and we're going to be talking about social prisoners, and we're going to talk about some of this corruption going down in the Georgia area. So for one, my first story, there's a situation in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary right now where it's pretty much vacant. There's about 134 prisoners left right now in it. Back in March, I think it was 1,800 inmates. And, you know, there's all kinds of talk about corruption. There's talk about inmates actually leaving the facility through a hole in the gate. They have a shuttle that's been taking them to restaurants, apparently. You know what I mean? You have all kinds of wild parties. This is up in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. They've confiscated hundreds of cell phones. Of course, we know that. Earbuds, chargers, gold chains, weed grinders. They banned several different CEOs and high-level wardens, the whole nine. So it's really been out of control over the past several years. They said about 20 to 30% of all the correctional officers are quote unquote dirty, is what they said. That's their particular.
That's it. That's a low count.
I mean, I would probably say 20 to 30% might not be, or I would say 20 to 30%. I mean, I can't even get that out properly. But yeah, so it's been off the chain. They've been transferring inmates to other states and other areas, and you know, right now this is the same prison. For folks who are unfamiliar with the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, this is where they held folks like Dr. Mutulu Shakur, where they held Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown. This is also the place that the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey served his time. You know what I mean? Folks like Al Capone. Yes, this is, you know, the same Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. So it's about time for it to close. I mean, it's right for folks who are unaware. It's literally in the hood. Like, you know, it's a community around it, and you go to the end of the street, and there it is. It's a federal penitentiary.
I got pulled over. I got pulled over for speeding around there one time.
Yeah, you got pulled over for speeding
around the federal penitentiary. Yeah.
Wow, you try to get there? What was the
trying to get somebody out. You know what I'm saying? But,
okay,
you know.
okay.
But no, I mean,
yeah.
No, I was just going to quickly say, I mean, you know, like these prisons, they're not meant for rehabilitation and reform. They're meant for people to get their groove on, right? They take advantage of folks having needs and desires and wants, trying to connect with the outside world. And these guards, because they're paid so low, right? Because it's like they're just trying to throw them a bone, basically. And then those cats are like, I'm gonna make some money off of these cats and stuff like that. It's just a whole institutional setup.
Yeah, and they have footage of guards actually coming in with backpacks full of shit that they're not being searched or whatever. I mean, I was like thrilled when I read that they talking about there was a hole in the gate with a prison shuttle to take them to to take folks to restaurants in the Atlanta area. So I mean, when you that tells you, like, if you're in Atlanta and you somewhere eating and you see somebody staring at you or whatever, don't get it twisted or whatever. I mean, you might be sitting next to an inmate, and they said that on one of these trips there were some police officers at the other end of this particular tunnel waiting to greet them when they came about the hole. So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Gives new meaning to the hole. But go ahead.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about David Gilbert. So I asked May, I don't know if she can pull that up for me. I don't know if y'all want me to take the chance and try to share the screen. Y'all want me to do that? You want me to do that? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Says share screen.
Okay.
Don't get nervous, y'all. Window, not the entire screen. As I'm gonna talk my way through it, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if this happens for real.
Okay.
But so far, so good. So far, so good. So good. There you go. Did that happen? Did that happen? Can you see?
I see it. Okay.
So
we're there.
Yeah, I'm not that bad at this. I'm not that bad. So folks who haven't heard, another one of our political prisoners, maybe if I'm not mistaken, the last one from the Brinks days who are connected to the BLA. Other folks have either been released and or unfortunately have passed away in prison. I remember when I was younger and we used to do the work of working on political prisoner cases, New York, it was almost at least once a month. It was like 8 to 9 PPs in there who were connected to the Black Panther Party or the Weather Underground. So we made
he's the last Weather Underground.
One,
no, not the last one. Dr. Mutulu Shakur is still in.
No, I meant in New York. I just meant in New York.
Right, but Mutulu was tied to that case as well.
Yeah, no, I just meant held in New York State.
Okay, New York, right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Cuomo commuted the sentence. He gave him clemency, but for folks, David Gilbert is 75 years old. You see here a picture of him when he was arrested, looking a little Amishish. I couldn't help but bring that up with the beard and the mustache. Cool. And David, David did not plead out at the particular time. David Gilbert took it to trial, lost the trial, was serving his 75 years to life sentence. And David has always remained strong on his politics, and that's one reason that he was particularly punished. There were some other folks, obviously, Kathy Bodine, and they share a son together, who is now the district attorney for San Francisco. Kathy Bodine, pleaded out, and she got out approximately 17 years ago. And so now David is eligible for parole. And so that's the caveat. The caveat is not that he's been released or is going to be released, but that he's now eligible for parole. Many people are making the assumption, and hopefully it's a good assumption, that based on this, he will receive parole because of his age, time spent, good jobs done while in prison. So folks are hoping that will make his ability to come back into society that much easier. So, we're hoping that is the case. Folks, write letters, do what you can. Let's get in, check out Jericho to get in touch with things that we can do to help support him. Because David has been a real soldier. Again, got a chance to visit him a couple of times when he was in Attica. And his politics are solid. He's remained somebody who's been true to the cause. And so we wish and hope that he can get out soon.
Yeah, and for in case you missed what Kamal just said, I mean, charges related to his work with the BLA. You know what I mean? You had folks like some of his co-defendants was Sekou Odinga, Sylvia Berardini, Marilyn Buck, who is now an ancestor, Kwesi Balagoon, who's an ancestor, M. Tayari, who's an ancestor. So it was, they had a serious program. So when you talk about, the difference between allies and comrades, David Gilbert is definitely a comrade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And if folks don't remember, I mean, not remember, but if folks haven't read about some of the Brinks cases, the reason the Weather folks were so important was because of obviously the general racism in society, that anytime something happened, they were looking for black folks. And then you had white drivers who allowed these folks to do what they did, to do the good work that they did, and were able to escape and get away for a long time period. So that connection was useful. People like Kalonji said, were comrades. They knew their role in that struggle. They played their role in that struggle. And even when the consequences went down, for the most part, folks did what they had to do, right? And so that was really important for that struggle. We don't have that kind of unity, obviously, as much as we should today. Not saying all the same tactics are going to be employed, but those folks really played a vital role in terms of some of the, even, this is public knowledge, of course, at this stage, but even in the freeing of folks like Assata Shakur, right? So folks played vital roles in the heroes and heroines that we say, that we support, that we get guidance from, that we salute, that we think of as our folks who've led the way. You can't love Assata without loving Sundiata. You can't love Assata even without loving David Gilbert. You can't love Assata without understanding her role in the BLA and the Black Panther Party back in the day. So.
No doubt. And man, I implore you all to go check out information on the May 19th organization and Weather Underground, so on and so forth. I just did an interview with Laura Whitehorn a few weeks ago, which was one of his partners. And it's funny because she was just talking about fighting for the release of David Gilbert. One of the organizations that they have right now is RAP, and that's releasing aging prisoners up in the New York area. So this is a win because I think David actually just turned 76. So at 76 years old, getting out, he's facing 75 to life. So that's a win. He's done like 40 years. Also yesterday, speaking of political prisoners, it was Russell Malone Schultz's birthday. He just turned 79 years old. He's been locked up for 49 years. So since he was like 30 years old. So you have these political prisoners, for all practical purposes, who have been locked up longer than many of you in the chat were born. You understand what I'm saying? So David was definitely one of them. So we salute David Gilbert, and like you said, we hope that he's able to be released and there's no hiccups, because he is in the state of New York, and you have some serious bastards running interference up there. Yeah.
Oh, and one quick thing that you brought up, Laura Whitehorn also should be saluted, because since she was a political prisoner. And when she came out in New York back in the day, some 20 years ago now, it feels like she hit the ground running. And Laura has done a lot in terms of helping with strategy and the work, helping to support and free political prisoners, her comrades, her actual comrades, her contemporaries. And she needs to be continually saluted for the work that she has done and continues to do in New York to help support these political prisoners and ex-political prisoners when they come out. So salute to the interview and salute to Laura Whitehorn.
No doubt. And thank you all for for checking out BPM, because of the fact that we all know there's not too many places that you can get political prisoners news on the daily. You know what I mean? And I must say we make it sound fly, because of the fact that we understand as organizers, it's necessary for us to support our troops. You understand what I'm saying? At any given moment, any of us can become a political prisoner. So we want you all to understand the importance of supporting political prisoners. It's not just, some old folks, quote unquote, committed a crime or whatever, and they locked up and we just saying free them. That's not what we're talking about here. A lot of these brothers and sisters were locked up for things like environmental issues. You know what I'm saying? Fighting for the rights of the environment, for, animal rights issues, the whole nine. So being a political prisoner don't necessarily mean that you were only fighting for black folks or whatever the case is. You might have been fighting to preserve the earth. You know what I mean? So it's important that we crush this imperialist capitalist system. Anyway, what else we got?
Okay, I'm gonna do another. I'm on a roll now. So I'm doing
Let's go. Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? We don't need
Miles here.
We don't need no Jared. You know what I'm saying? One light skinned dude is enough for this. You know what I'm saying? I don't need all that.
Too many light skinners.
Too light skinned. You know what I'm saying?
Lighter skinners. Let's go.
Just calm me down now. Just calm me down. You know
I was trying.
Just trying. So the other thing I want to bring up is, we obviously are living in a gilded age, right? It's the new gilded age where things like this exist, where Beyonce and JayZ, have just done an ad with Tiffany's, and their Boscott painting behind them, celebrating themselves and Black art. But really what they're doing is selling their images, Black culture, Black art, to a diamond company that has mined diamonds in Africa. And in particular, folks are bringing up the fact that I'll read it directly, that Beyonce is flexing her blood diamond extracted from the Kimberley mine in South Africa in 1877 using enslaved African labor. So whether or not she knows what she's doing or not, she is continually participating in the kind of thing that, again, extracts wealth from Black people, from Africans, and puts it back in the hands of Europeans for a small little payout. She's putting herself at service to folks like that.
Right, and they're using Basquiat in the background as if this is supposed to be a unreleased painting, or what? It's not an unreleased painting, but one that hasn't been shown public. So they use.
I remember it was some private purchase. Somebody private purchased it, and now this is the first time it's been shown in a number of years, right?
Right. So I mean, we talk about JayZ and Beyonce, and I know that we can only say so much because we don't want to get stung by the beehive, but there's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not buying the, we don't know what's going on with the whole blood diamond situation, because I know in particular JayZ is not a fool. He knows what the deal is, but when it comes to that paper, I mean, it's all a caper. It goes back to the whole thing about NFL, when he was saying he wasn't going to perform at the Super Bowl, I'm saying, you need me, I don't need you, all that type bullshit. And the next thing you know, they're directing the entertainment program. So, we know it's all about the money when it comes to this quote unquote power couple, and they're willing to
only show themselves to only care about the money. I mean, again, you hit off some. It's all about this charity thing. You hit off a couple of organizations with some money, but really, what you're doing is sort of buying grace, because you're doing all this other fuckery that people are supposed to just be like, oh my God, it's rich Black people, it's shiny new Black people, it's Black folks getting a chance to represent white corporations to sell us product. And we as consumers are supposed to be like, whoa, we're so happy about this. We're so fantastically in love with the fact that this couple is doing all this great stuff. And now I have to go spend, and now I'm supposed to go spend thousands of dollars on some diamond to show somebody else.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands potentially, right? So it's just crazy. I mean, it's like it's the new gilded age where wealth is just thrown in our faces by people who have it, and as opposed to us thinking that that's something that needs to be challenged, they're hoping that we just envy it and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we really have to do a segment one day soon about, when we talk about blood diamonds and we talk about Coltrane and cobalt and so many different materials that are utilized, particularly by quote unquote those of us who would like to keep up with the Joneses and the Bilderbergs and all these other people, whatever, because of the fact that there are people that are literally suffering. There are people who are suffering that have died. When you talk about blood diamonds, it's not just a slick slogan or whatever. People have lost limbs and lost family members and lost lives, so on and so forth. And then you have, in 2021, you have these two illustrious Negroes hopping up on the screen, representing Tiffany's of all companies. You know what I mean? So we really have to go a little bit further and talk about these issues, because of the fact that it's all a part of this slave trade. Even with when we talk about prison labor, you know what I mean? You have folks who work for Victoria's Secret, they work for Apple and all these other different organizations inside of the prison camps as prison labor. But when they get out, they're not even qualified to work at these particular places because they have a record, but they've worked for them as indentured servants or as slave labor You know what I mean? While they were caged. So it's a serious sham going on here in America.
From prison labor to wage, from prison slave to wage slave. I mean, that's from slave to prison slave to wage slave. I mean, that's the trajectory, because that's how they think about our labor, right? And and again, that's part of the trick bag, is that they don't show us how you get the diamond, like you're saying. Don't show us the cost, the lives that it costs to even dig the diamond out, the inhumanity in terms of throwing people to dig rocks all day and stuff like that, the inability, or not even the inability, the desire to not pay these people a decent wage, to hoard that wealth, right, for their own purposes. But then again, to bring it out to us like they've done something and then to do these marketing campaigns. I was looking at some show on Netflix where they show, I mean, for instance, I guess this is more De Beers, but they showed how the diamond industry actually meticulously guided folks who were no at one point not thinking about diamonds to show their love or anything like that, but how they guided through propaganda, through these commercials, through these advertisements, to make us think that the only way to express love is to spend again, literally thousands of dollars. Our biggest purchase outside of our homes for many of us on these diamonds. And they showed this other thing about Japan, where Japan had like almost 3% of their folks were buying diamonds. And after De Beers did their whole big campaign, they got it upwards to 90% of people then all of a sudden started believing that diamonds were the way in which they needed to show their love for each other. And so they create these markets. It's not even like people want these things. They create these markets and tell you that you need these things to be whole, sophisticated, to show your love and all that kind of BS.
But that's the nature of capitalism. You always, they have you working in fancy restaurants that you can't even afford to eat at. You know what I'm saying? So, it's funny because, real quick, I remember when Obama became president, when he was selected, or whatever we want to call it. I remember the next morning, I talked to my grandmother, and my grandfather, they was happy. And me, I'm like, down with imperialism, so on and so forth. But my grandmother said to me, she said, I never thought that I would live to see a black president. And she said to me, and I'm sitting there, I'm listening to him, like, I love my grandmother, so you got to respect her. But I'm listening to her, and she told me a story. She said, do you know I used to work when she moved to Connecticut? She said she used to work in Westport, which is a wealthier city up there. And she said she said I would have to cook for these white folks and whatnot. And she said when they have company, I would have to eat the same food that they were eating in the dining room. I would have to eat my food in the pantry. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't even want her to be seen because she was black, but they would rave about her food, and they would have her, all the time coming to that piece. So I thought about it. I'm like, man, here it is. My grandmother telling me about, about sitting in the pantry, how you can't even eat your own food that you prepared that they love. And, so I looked at it differently only because of the fact that I understand the time period. You know what I mean? It didn't change my ideas and thoughts about who Obama was. I was clear, but just the symbolism. Sometimes with our people coming up out of oppression, the symbolism itself seems to be a victory.
Yeah, it's the representation. It's even like 2008. I was mad. I'm political, right? Yeah. But you see black people dancing in the street, jumping out, cars. We went to join. It was like I kept it all in. Guys like, yo, this black joy. I feel this fake black joy, right. But I don't want to be the curmudgeon to be like, you know what? At that particular moment, I did it like a day later. But at that moment, you feel like it is not. It's this idea of, and again, I feel like some of this is our fault as organizers, because if we don't present the alternative, if we don't present a strong enough force, of course, capital is going to capture people. Of course, these fancy ads and slick representations are going to capture people. Of course, the political system is going to capture people because they don't see an alternative. And it's like, if you don't have an alternative, then you want to be represented in what you see that's out there. And so whether we like it or not, whether we like it or not, unless we do our job to
working with
those alternatives, folks are going to continually slip back in there. And that's part of what I see too. My mom had similar stories of her mom working in white folks' home in Charleston, South Carolina, her being a kid, what Obama meant, seeing Jesse Jackson cry. But
Right.
see, but people were moved by that. Like they were moved by that,
Right.
right? They thought this was a fulfillment of a certain promise for them, and then henceforth he continued to run the empire, of course. But he got you still can't say nothing too bad about Obama publicly to old black folks. They don't allow that.
Yeah. But it's like the church. It's like we all love gospel music. You don't have to be a Christian, but that energy, that soul, that organ, when that organ, they start hitting those keys or whatever, that's why folks get the quote unquote Holy Ghost, because of the fact that electric energy. And it's like sometimes, it's just good to see us smile. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have to agree. And that's one of the things, we can't be so rigid with our organizing either. We don't have to agree on certain things or whatever. But at the same time, if you have a gathering, and I don't celebrate holidays, but if I know this is the only opportunity where I can see all my family healthy and it not be a funeral, if we're going to go and have a Christmas meal or whatever, man, listen, when they talk about certain things, man, who made the mac and cheese? Word? Okay, bet. I know you got that peach cobbler, so it's all good.
Tell the old story. Yeah, I'm an atheist, B. I went to church. They start playing that. I was like, I'm like,
man,
I can't help it.
In front of Mahalia Jackson, man. What's wrong with you? James Cleveland. You know
when
what I mean?
Gets down, when she does a little song, shoot.
Man, they be having you throwing money in the plate.
Praise the Lord.
I got my 20 right here.
Praise the Lord. We're going to take all my money. What else we got, B? What else we got?
I don't know. We out of our minds, I'll tell you that much. What else we got up in here? We got a few more stories. There was a situation out in, what city is this? There's a situation that I was reading about a young woman who was driving with her father, 33-year-old Nakia Porter. She was out in Sacramento. Actually outside of Sacramento in a suburb of in an Oakland suburb, a suburb outside of Oakland. Her name was Nakia Porter, 33 years old. She's riding with her father, who's 61-year-old Joe Powell. Her two daughters, ages 3 and 6, and her 4-year-old niece were in the back seat. They pulled off the highway in Dixon, California, so that her and her father, because she was tired or whatever the case is, they decided to switch drivers, and the deputy pulled behind them and turned the lights on. Okay. Deputy said they noticed the vehicle, which made a U-turn in front of them, and it halted at a stop sign, and the vehicle had mismatched plates, license plates. On the back, it had a California plate, and on the front, it had a Maryland plate. The deputies ran the rear plate to their dispatch, and they found that the description of the car was correct. It was all good. Wasn't a stolen car, nothing, whatever. So they still decided to pull him over. They had Miss Porter get out the car. She's talking to, there's two officers, a male and a man and a woman officer. And, she was explaining to him, look, we were just switching drivers or whatever. Male cop gets mad. He's like, you know what? He pulls the guns out and like, let's just detain her. So they decided that they were going to detain her. And she's like, well, what's the deal? Why am I being detained? And, they just, the camera gets blurry, and all of a sudden she's on the ground unconscious. Okay. So they literally knocked her out cold in front of her father and her children. Okay. So the paramedics show up, and when the paramedics come, they lie and they're like, well, she tried to fight the woman officer, and she fell or whatever, hit her head, and she was only out for 20 seconds. So she wanted to get medical treatment, but they denied her medical treatment. The cops was like, there's nothing wrong with her. These are self-inflicted injuries. And, they said she was only out for a couple 20 seconds, like I said. But in fact, the body cam showed that she was out for several minutes. Now, they're suing this particular police department, right? The crazy thing about that, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, these bastards have no type of humanity. This is a male and female cops. And here it is, you attack this woman. No crime was committed, by the way. The only thing that could be close to a crime was having mismatched plates. But as I stated, the plate on the back, the most important plate matched the it matched the vehicle. It's registered, everything's cool, no problem. But you attack this woman in front of her 61-year-old father, her 3-year-old and her 3-year-old and her 6-year-old, and her 4-year-old niece who was sitting in the back. I don't know. I would never want to be in a situation where the police make an effort to attack my child in front of me. I couldn't even, that's something that I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Or I wouldn't want to be a child and someone attacking my parent in front of me. You know what I mean? But they have they saw the children. Yeah. They saw the father. But yet and still they decided that,
it's a complete disregard. I mean, it's again, to me, it's not only the racism that they come into these jobs with, but on top of that is the added training, which again tells them to take control of these situations, to be disrespectful, to get people to shut up. And this is their power tripping. Like, this is, for whatever failures these folks had in some of their other lives or whatever they've been doing, this right here seems to be some source of power. And folks, when they get that access to that power, they're ready to exercise it. And if you have the nerve, right, even though you're paying their salaries, particularly with Black folks, you have the nerve to suggest to them that what are you doing and why are you doing it? Right. It makes their head explode. Right. They can't even picture. How dare you question me? I got the gun and badge. I got authority. Right. You're just supposed to shut up and do everything I say. This is their power source. And they're so in their mind freaked, like just crazy about keeping that power source. Then they do all these crazy things, and again, it's built on that racism. But it's so funny for the most part, right? They don't do that in the white community, even with that same badge and gun, because they see those folks as human. They see the differentiation of power. They see themselves getting in trouble when that happens. No matter how many videotapes or marches or demonstrations that come out, because of the racism and the training, it's never going to stop in terms of how they think and how they view our folks. They just view our folks as folks that they can train on, they can put in their place, they can throw in jail and throw in prison. And that's just, and we're going to talk about some of this a little later with one of our guests when we talk about Cop City in Atlanta, which is supposed to be this new training center that's going to be built. And it's like this, it ain't the training. The training is the problem, right? It ain't like you're doing something good because you got training. More training on how to kill and abuse us. We don't need that.
No, we're good on that. You know what I'm saying? But that's I mean, it is, and it's crazy because you talked about power and they're powerless. It's like the police in this country, they're like the, and no disrespect to the workers, but they're the mall guard. They're the guard at the Family Dollar. You understand what I'm saying? You protecting somebody else's shit, and you're willing to, but you just have a little bit more authority because you're a licensed murderer. You're a licensed to a great extent vigilante for the Klan. You understand what I'm saying? So you have this particular authority to defend this property and to defend these white folks in this establishment by whatever means you can. So if it means, it's just like the police dog. If it means that somebody sicks you on someone or whatever, that's your job. And at the end, you get a good boy pat on your head. Now, every now and then you might get fired. You know what I'm saying? But in cases like what went on in Atlanta with what's the brother name down the street from the community house?
Oh, Rayshard Brooks.
Rayshard Brooks. Cop ends up getting his job back. Now he's getting paid. You know what I'm saying? He's still getting his check. Now, granted, right now he might be on, administrative leave or whatever, but he's on the paper, on book, he still has his job. So there's a very real chance that he can actually end up back on the force. We've seen that happen in Ohio with the situation with the pig who killed Tamir Rice. You understand what I'm saying? He was fired in one particular one county and was rehired in another in less than 6 months.
Yeah. And that's what they do. They'll go to another county. Instead of being a cop, they'll become a fire person. So they'll continue on with their lives. They'll continue on doing what they've done, thinking that they were innocent, they were misjudged, they were scared at the time. They're always scared. It's like the people with the badges and the guns and the authority and the nightsticks and the mace seem to be the ones that's always scared of folks who are basically walking down the street or driving their car, right? And again, that's the perpetual motion of fear that these folks have around dealing with Black folks. And so we don't need that. We don't need any policing about people that's based on a racist system of domination. And so that's why they got to go.
Hey, man, got to go. We got a couple more minutes before we go to the ear doctor. But I just want to say, I read somewhere that Shaun King has a clothing line coming out.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. He's now moving into the fashion department. He has a private clothing line. I think it's called A Real One. You understand?
It's not called Bleach. Call it Bleach.
Man, why you beef with Shaun King, man?
Whites are us. Ancestry.com.
Oh man.
You can link it up with Ancestry.com.
Yeah, so he's only selling these shirts
out?
to.
He's only selling out. I got nothing but puns for him.
Man.
Fuck Shaun King.
Anyway, man, the man said he's selling it to his IG followers. He has 3.6 million IG followers, and he's making his clothing line exclusive to them. So, fuck you, Shaun King, for your bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Just last month he was talking about the situation with his house. He was collecting money because of the fact that he had to move because of the New York Post put his address in the newspaper, whatever, to his damn near $1 million home. What was it, like $800,000? Yeah.
I think him and Patrice compared notes about who had the most expensive house and shit like that.
Man, listen, man, I'm feeling like I'm in the wrong line of work, man. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we ain't getting that type of paper around here at BPM. You know what I'm saying?
I've been organizing for 30 years.
You know what I mean?
Who knew it was a hustle?
$8.
It was a hustle, B.
Man, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling left out. Like, what's going on here?
If I only knew I had to grab a camera and then hop down to the latest incident and start filming myself, and that was it. Or get a stage of fake arrest. I was like,
but Shaun took it to a more gangster level because of the fact that you had the Sharptons and what's your man, Crump the Chump and all them. You know what I mean? They at least show up on the scene. Shaun just tweet about it or put it on his IG and rake it in like that. He's like the Umar Johnson of of this piece. Umar Johnson's a traveling preacher in overhead.
Umar Johnson does it for nationalist circles. Shaun King does it for so-called social justice circles. And then he created a whole cover story, B. I can't believe that people don't talk about this dude says that his mama had an affair with some Black man and that's how he thinks he Black. And like the mama came out and was like, Shaun, you're right. I had this affair with this Negro and that's how you got here. She never backed. Nobody backs up his story. The whole family is solid. He's like, man, shut the fuck up. This is the cover story. This is how I've decided to make my bread. I'm about to go to Morehouse. I'm about to get all that done. Let me get this Black wife, get these Black kids. I'm like, boom, bam.
But these stories are outrageous. Like with Umar, he's like, my great grandfather's uncle's niece's nephew's third cousin removed was Dr. Frederick Douglass. Anyway, man, speaking of Frederick Douglass, man, we need to go to the ear doctor real quick. You know what I'm saying?
What the hell Frederick Douglass got to do with me?
I was like, what's that segue?
Hey, I gotta raise my DJ prices, man. I'm trying to get some of that Shaun money. I'm just saying.
Hey, gotta get that social media up.
Yeah, speaking of holidays, man, I just want to say I've been campaigning to call these holidays family days just so everybody can be included and not have to worry about the symbolism of all this. It's like he said, this is the day we got off. We can all get together and enjoy. So I'm gonna push that campaign. Hope y'all follow.
Campaign. All right.
Yeah, family day.
How about we just change the days altogether and we do our own thing, because of the fact that when we really dig into holidays and not to cut it to the joint, every holiday is to celebrate capitalism. every particular month you can name, there's something where you can have a sale to say this is what it is. So,
Kalonji, that sounds good, but those are the days that people got off work. So let's just work around that. You know what I mean? That way we can still do it. Hey, the plantation speaks. Anyway, let's get back to the next break and let's do it like this.
All right.
Remix.
Yeah.
Yow.
All right, so with the theme of Black August, we're going to keep it going right here. Who are we going to talk about? Who are we going to learn about today? No other than Fannie Lou Hamer. So let's listen to what and who Fannie Lou Hamer is like this.
Thank you very much. My home is in Roosevelt, Mississippi. It's located in the Black Belt of Mississippi, known as the Delta area. And actually, the way I got involved in the Freedom Democrat Party is we tried to get in the regular Democrat Party. We tried from the precinct level up to the county and from the county to the state. I remember when we tried to attend the precinct meeting at the little polling place in Roosevelt. It was 8 of us, 8 Negroes went up to visit the precinct meeting, and the door was locked and we couldn't get in. And we stood on the outside and held our own meeting. We elected our chairman and our secretary, our delegates and our alternates, and we passed the law to resolution. And we moved from the precinct level on through the county and up to the state. The 24th of April in 1964, we organized at the Masonic Temple in Jackson, Mississippi, the Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. And then the 24th of August in 1964, we went to the National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to challenge the seating of the regular delegation from Mississippi.
In which you were unsuccessful.
That's right. We was offered 2 votes at large as a compromise.
In the convention.
Mm-hmm. But after 100 years, we wouldn't accept a compromise because it didn't mean anything to 63,000 people at that time was registered with the Freedom Democrat Party, so we didn't compromise. So again, in January, beginning the 4th.
Once again, that's Fannie Lou Hamer. And like she said, she did not compromise. So we're going to keep it going and take y'all back to the Remix Morning Crew. Now we do. Yeah.
Okay. Look at that doctor, man. Coming out with Fannie Lou Hamer. That's you know right. What I mean? That's all right. You got the Dr. John Henry Clark. The Fannie Lou Hamer. I mean, that's what we need around here.
Hey, you know it's Black August. We got to bring it. So
Fannie Lou is one of the greatest organizers, unsung heroes still to this day that folks just don't understand in terms of that was a grassroots sister. That sister was from a community. She got involved in that work because she understood like what oppression was like firsthand, the experiences. I mean, we all do, but deep down in the deep South, Fannie Lou was about that work, and she developed cooperatives, did that kind of civic engagement that we call it today, organizing work. Fannie Lou all around, just like big ups, man, big ups.
She's about that life. Y'all catch y'all later.
No doubt. Peace. And like you said, when you talk about Mississippi, shout out to Mississippi, man, because of the fact I respect folks. To me, Mississippi is like one of the most vicious places when it comes to our people, as far as enslaved folks. When I think of places like Mississippi and Alabama, for you to organize in areas like that back then, you know what I'm saying? You was a bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And Fannie Lou Hamer, she took some whoopings. You know what I mean? I mean, she was beat so bad. I read one story where they said she was beat so bad that blood was filling her shoes, and I think they had disconnected her eye or something at one particular point. But she was gangster, man, and it's like, salute to all the women freedom fighters. And I want to point out too, because you know, we talk about George and Jonathan Jackson. I want to shout out Georgia Jackson. Georgia Jackson, mother of George and Jonathan Jackson, because of the fact that she was straight gangster. They murdered her sons, both of her sons, and she was still out speaking out against this racist ass system. You know what I mean? So definitely salute to her.
Yeah, really quick on what you said. I know we got a segment coming up.
Yes.
You know, the deep dive that folks did in Mississippi, Fannie Lou Hamer teaming up with SNCC folks. People just don't do that kind of organizing no more. These folks lived with the people. They were part of the people. They organized political education trainings, freedom schools. They literally lived in folks' houses. Some of them moved to those communities, do that deep dive work, not just coming in doing election cycles and trying to get somebody elected, but they were building grassroots work. And that's the kind of thing that I think we forgot about in terms of the work that we need to do, that we needed to start getting back to again.
No doubt. Anyway, you listen to the RemiX Morning Show. And speaking of prisons, my next guest is a sister I've been knowing for quite a while. I met her doing work with FTP going back in 2004 when we first got here. She was one of the first folks to come out, support, and get involved in our work when we were doing our Feed the People program. She has a situation right now she's going to talk about with her daughter, who is currently incarcerated held captive in a women's prison here in the Georgia area. So we're going to talk about what the hell is going on in that particular prison because of the fact that we've been hearing a whole lot. We're going to be right back with your RemiX Morning Show. Let's go. Ooh. Peace.
Peace.
How you doing,
brother.
today?
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm all
good.
right. Grand Rising.
Okay, Grand Rising. Haven't seen you in a few ticks. Glad to see you. Unfortunately, on this particular side of the fence, you know what I mean.
Right,
but
right.
you know, as always, we're gonna get that work done. For those who are not familiar, this is our sister whose government name is Ebony Holmes, but we know her in the community as Black Sis. She's a poet, a serious poet, and you know, it's funny because around Black August, I know that I will always see her because of the fact that she's supporting the work that we do, the efforts, the energy. She's usually one of our hosts when we're talking about doing anything regarding creative resistance, poets for political prisoners, so on and so forth. Yes, we've been acquainted for at least 17 years now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and she's also a yogi.
Yes,
Basu, excuse me.
Yes.
Get it right. Africanize what we supposed to do around
here.
Here.
When it's Africanized, it's Basu.
No doubt. So we're gonna get you back on to talk about that stuff. But for now, we have some serious things going on in Arendelle State Prison. I want to before we get into the meat of it, you know, there's been some issues with Arendelle. So can you speak on what's been going on, and then we want to, you know, I want to talk to you about, you know, your loved one who's there. But I want to start off with what's the climate at Arendelle right now?
Okay, so Arendelle State Prison is a women's prison down in Alto, Georgia. They've been having a lot of issues with sanitation, food, medical attention for their people. They've had quite a few prisoners commit suicide or just die mysteriously. Last week, the senators tried to go in and, you know, inspect the prison, and they were not allowed in. So that was in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But there are other articles that you can look up on Arendelle State Prison that just talks about the horrible conditions there. So they've switched power as of August 1st, and now they have a new warden who I've contacted with no response, and his name is Alan Dillis. And I just haven't been able to, you know, contact anyone to get any type of response from them. And apparently there's others trying to get in there and see what's going on, and they're just not being allowed. So I guess this is what happened with, you know, privatized prisons.
Okay, indeed. So definitely a privatized prison. You mentioned issues with food. When you say there's been problems with food, is it a food shortage? Like what's going on?
Just molded, just like molded food, rotten food that they're trying to give the inmates. Not enough food. So it's just been horrible.
And I've heard situations about the water there as well. Can you talk about that?
There's been parasites in the water, and they've had to, you know, cut the water off. So their inmates are not able to take showers. They don't have fresh water to drink. And then they gave them like a 16-ounce bottle of water for a 24-hour period, which is ridiculous. And so prisoners are still getting sick from that water. They claim that it's clean, but it's still not clean.
Okay, now there's been a number of articles that have been popping up. And as you mentioned, some of the state representatives, I believe 7 of them last week made efforts to go into the prison, and they were denied.
They were denied access.
Yeah. Now you have
and our tax dollars still support this prison.
No doubt. How far is that from Atlanta, by the way?
It's about an hour and 10 minutes. When I go out there, it's an hour and 10 minutes.
And what's the population? Is it
I want to say it's about 1,300 prisoners there.
1,300 prisoners. What's the surrounding area? What is it? Is it
like Gainesville area? So you're passing Lake Lanier and all that, and just going straight down there. It's down in that direction.
So is it a mixed population around there, or as far as, you know, outside the prison?
No, it's mostly Caucasian area.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And these are the people who are employed at the prison, pretty much. Okay. Now, your daughter Trinity, I've been knowing her. Trinity's how old? Like what, 20 right now?
She's 21 now. She's about to be 22 in October.
Okay. So when we met, she was literally a baby.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So now, due to whatever situation, she ends up at Arendelle State Prison. What's going on with her over there? Because you told me some things that were really disturbing.
So what's been going on with her is Trinity pretty much committed the crime when she was 17, got arrested that night at midnight on her birthday. So since she's been there, it's just been constant with her. She has psychological disorders, so she has to take medication. They have denied her medication. They've denied her access to her psychiatrist, which she's supposed to be going to once a week. They have, allowed her to be abused in there by the prisoners and by the staff. And it's just escalating to the point where, I don't know what to do. And so that's why I'm just reaching out to the community, because something has to be done. Like as we speak right now, she has staples in her head from where a guard banged her head against the bars, and a broken hand. They threw her in the hole. And so she's not getting any medical attention. I've called up there for someone to check on her and see about her. And it's just nothing, and I'm just really concerned about her safety and her life there.
So, and they've given you no answers. You're saying that they banged her head up against the bars. She has staples, a broken hand, so on and so forth. And they're
right. So she sat and bled for an hour before they even put the stitches. They put the staples in. They put the staples in and just put her in a hole. Didn't do anything about her hand. And so, it's just in alignment with what the articles are saying, that the prisoners are not getting the proper medical attention that they need, and they're being abused by the staff there.
Okay. Now there was a situation. I know you told me about something about her being attacked by guards while she was naked. What can you speak on that?
So that happened when because she wasn't having her medication that she's supposed to have. So she was having an episode, and she didn't have, pretty much put the sheet around her neck and was still fighting her. The guard, I have the guard's name here somewhere.
Who put the sheet around her neck? Who put the sheet around her neck? You saying she did or the guard did?
The guard did. Officer Fuller
put a sheet around her neck.
With a sheet around her neck. Officer Fuller choked her with a sheet around her neck, threatened to beat her up. They put her in an unclean, unsanitized room. They were trying to take her to the COVID unit, and she didn't have COVID. So it's like they're trying to put her in there. So, For some reason, they didn't do that, which I was glad about. But then, you know, they weren't giving her medicine. And then while all this was happening, there was another officer, Sir Frady, who turned his camera down and then turned the camera off so that, you know, what's happening is not being recorded. These guards have cameras on them as well, right? But they're just turning them off or turning them down so that they can do whatever they want to do to the prisoners. And who's scanning the videos? You know, if no one's having access to anything, it's just that they're just running rampant and they're doing whatever they want to do.
This is crazy. So, wow. So basically, you know, and you also told me that you told me about sending resources to the prison to her that she hadn't received. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so I've been, you know, ordering books through Amazon to, you know, get to her, like self-help books and journals, different things that, you know, they say that they can have, and she's never receiving the stuff. She's not getting the stuff. I sent some stuff in, I want to say June, and she's just getting that book that I sent her last week. So it's like they're just holding on to their stuff. A lot of her letters that she's sending me, I'm not getting. Letters that I'm sending her, she's not getting. It's just a mess.
So and there's been, you said there's been other suicides and mysterious deaths and all that type of stuff.
Exactly, but no accountability.
Okay.
No accountability.
Okay, so have you spoken to any representatives? Have you spoken to any of the
I've been reaching out, but I haven't been able to really get any assistance from anybody. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm here right now, because it's like, you know, if no one's going to help me advocate for my daughter, then I'll have to advocate myself. But this is ridiculous. It's inhumane conditions in that prison, and something just has to be done.
I mean, the article I was reading, I know they were saying that, I mean, they was actually talking about how filthy it was and how, I guess, someone from the prison had dropped a dime or whatever and was kind of telling them what was going on in there, and still to no avail.
Rampant with drugs and everything like that. So with Trinity not being able to have access to her medication, now she's using some other stuff in there. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, it's just whatever goes in there. And they're not being checked about it.
Have you been able to communicate with her?
Yeah, she called me Saturday. That's why, I mean, I sent the message out. She called me Saturday crying like I'm in a hole. They bust my head open. My hand is broke. Nobody won't help me. Like, they just had me sitting here for 36 hours. They haven't given me my stuff. I don't have no clothes. Like, they just, you know, and these are women. Most of these guards out here are men. And so why is she not clothed?
Wow. So these are male guards in a women's prison.
Yes.
And this is a private prison, basically.
Mostly, yes. It's mostly men guards.
So this is, so I mean, that thought alone is just like, I mean, some wild shit. It sounds like
and every time I go there, they have a board, I guess, of the officers that they caught in the act of doing something. And that board is always filled with officers who have violated their oath of what they're supposed to be doing there. So those are just the ones that are being caught.
Wow. You know, I'm talking to you for the viewers out here. I'm glad to have you on, first off, because of the fact that one of the stories we talked about earlier was corruption here at Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. And then the federal prison, like they have like they used to have like 12,000 people there. Now they got like 128 prisoners. It's just rampant with just corruption from the rooter to the tutor. It's just straight up corrupt. And the federal prison bureau is not doing anything. They're not answering questions. People are sending in complaints and they're not doing anything about it. They're the ones that's supposed to regulate this. And they're not even responding. They know it's corrupt. Right.
And they're just not doing anything about it.
Well,
I'm happy taking our money from our taxes, but not doing anything about it.
And, you know, I was going to say for the viewers, man, you know, sometimes we need to hear from family because of the fact that, again, this is I mean, she's a woman now, but this is a child that I've known since she was literally a baby. And here it is, a mother talking about their child. We just talked about spoke about a situation earlier as well about a woman in California being attacked in front of her father by police. To have to, I know you must feel pretty damn hopeless to just, you know, have to witness this. I mean,
exactly. And like just helpless. Like there's nothing I can do. I call, I file complaints, I'm reaching out, you know, to the community, I'm reaching out to, you know, people that I think that can help me. And just, it's just like, I'm just not getting any help anywhere.
Do you have a list of phone numbers that we can possibly call or whatever?
Yes, I do have the number to the prison. Like I said, the warden's name, the new warden as of August 1st is Alan Dillis. The number there is 706-776-4700.
You spell his name again?
Allen, Allen, Dillis, Dillis. I also contacted the reporter
Give us that phone number again. I'm sorry. Give us that phone number because I want to have our folks call this guy.
Right, 706-776-4700. I'll put it in the chat here too.
Cool. And he's the warden?
Yeah, he's the new warden.
Okay. So we definitely want to make sure that folks call this warden's office, Alan Dillis, 706-776-4700, 706-776-4700, and ask him, you know, what's going on in this prison. We need some oversight. We need, you know, let them know that we are watching and that we're not going to sit back and allow more women to be murdered in this prison or abused.
Or pushed to the point of suicide.
Right. Yeah.
So, and probably having mental disorders, not being able to get their medication, not being able to speak with their psychiatrist because y'all are denying them the medical care that they need.
Yeah, well, definitely, you know, keep us posted. You know, we're going to assist. I know our organization is going to work on assisting you in putting together some type of call tree and petition, and perhaps our folks in the chat can assist us with that because of the fact that this is unacceptable. We you know, we talk about political prisoners on this show, but you know, social prisoners as well. We got to remember that George Jackson, you know, he went in as a social prisoner. He was arrested at age 18 for a $70 gas station robbery, you know, and he was sentenced from 1 to life. So, you know, a lot of our brothers and sisters, they go inside these camps and oftentimes they don't make it out. So we definitely appreciate you you coming on board and you know, sharing with us what's going on with your daughter. I know it has to be difficult because of the fact that, you know, no one wants to talk about, you know, family issues, especially public. But when it's necessary, then, you know, then it's necessary for us to do what we need to do.
Because it's just a new age slavery, a new age way for them to abuse Black people.
Period. No doubt. We appreciate you coming on. We will be in touch with you.
Thank you for having me.
Without a doubt. Stay strong, and we're going to be right back at you. You're checking out the RemiX Morning Show. That's our sister, Black Sis, Ebony Holmes. And we will be supporting, you know, we'll be supporting this particular cause and more. RemiX, we'll be right back at you. No doubt. Salute.
That's a crazy story. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily a unique story.
Right.
These prisons are run like gulags. They are basically prison of war encampments where people, again, we talked about this in your earlier story, they just get away with everything and anything they can. And then again, in this society, prisons are used as a dumping ground. So
That's
she
right.
spoke to people who have social issues, mental issues, and instead of getting folks support, we just lock them away and throw them away. And then only the parents like keep track of them. Only the family members and the rest of society forgets all about these folks. So it's just really crazy. And so, a salute to that sister for coming on and sharing that story and telling us, what needs to be done to help her support her and her daughter.
I mean, and the sad thing, like you said, the fact that we live in a quote unquote civilized society where you have folks who have mental illness, and here it is, you're putting them in general population. You're putting them, in the line of fire with these insensitive correctional officers and wardens, so on and so forth. And once again, this speaks to the whole privatized prison industry. You know what I'm saying? This is like, if you have enough money in America and the right credit, then you can actually buy a prison. You can own a plantation. You know what I mean? So we won't be surprised if down the line, folks like JayZ, who was out at Parchman protesting, if they don't decide that they going to create some type of rehabilitation prison camp, because of the fact that,
it's a business, right? And whether it's privatized or public prisons, like the same deal goes. So we should make sure that we stress, because most prisons in the United States are still overwhelmingly public prisons that hoard our people and either use their labor as excess labor, and or again just disappear people, and they are taken advantage of. And this is women's prisons, men's prisons. Sexual abuse is rampant in these places, and so folks go in, whatever, if they had issues going in, it's not like these prisons do anything but make issues worse by the time they get out. So these are just not safe places. I think one of the things that folks are asking for, and we'll try to make before we leave the show today, put in there just the daughter's name, full name, again, the name of the warden and the phone number, the name of the prison, so that folks can contact, leave a message, talk about they heard about this abuse taking place. And again, we'll try to help guide that sister in terms of other actions that she needs to take in order to try to get some justice for her daughter and for other prisoners in there.
No doubt. So we'll definitely have that also in the body of this particular broadcast, so folks can go to it. And we thank you all on the RemiX Morning Show for even paying attention. And there's so many different cases, and that's what Black August is about. Political prisoners is the forefront, but at the same time, social prisoners, etc. As Mama Ayana pointed out, we many of us have family members, friends, comrades, colleagues, so on and so forth, who are currently in prison, and we forget about them. And in this case, this is a unique case because of the fact that at least she has the opportunity, or she's smart enough to be in touch with her loved one. Many folks that are incarcerated, they don't have this particular luxury. Anyway, we're going to take it to the ear doctor real quick. I know Kamal has another guest coming on board, but what you got for us, Doctor of the Ears?
Doctor of the Ears, yo, big up to the sister, Black Sis. We'll actually be joined together when we go down to the Big Black Cookout in Freedom, Georgia. She'll be teaching yoga, and I'll be bringing the music healing. So that's what we do. We go state to state, go heal. So with that said, also I want to bring next to y'all another sister that got a story. So check this out. Let's get to it on this next break right here.
RemiX.
All right. Welcome back to the RemiX Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And right now, like I said, let's check out another sister in history that made some moves during the era when you had Foxy Browns, you had the Little Kims, you had different sisters in the hip hop world talking about some other things. And then this sister came through as a shining light and showed a whole nother perspective of another type of sister. So let's do it like this. To our sister, Lauryn Hill, check this out real quick. Bam.
It was about a young woman, in the music industry, and the pitfalls, the snares, the traps, and they don't stop. They keep coming. They don't stop. I think that because I grew up in such a loving family structure, I thought that everybody did. And therefore, I thought that everybody reaped the benefit of that love. And pretty naive way to think. And so I learned very important lessons about people and their voids, and how when you have voids, like a black hole just sucks, and consumes everything into it, and I met a lot of those people. Here I was, this ship, I just want to love, and I met a lot of black holes, a lot of people with a lot of deep painful voids, and who found it easy to take advantage and to manipulate and to deceive someone with me who just all I want to do is love. I had to learn from those things painfully, but even now I thank God for correction. I even thank him for hardship, because it shows me exactly where I am, where I was, and where I need to be. So it was important. It was a very important record. Interestingly enough, that record was all about.
Yeah. So you got Lauryn Hill talking about her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That's what it is. Some more Black history right here on Black Power Media for Black August. This Bliggity Black, y'all. Let's take it back to the morning crew. Now we do. Yeah.
Shout out to Lauren.
Shout out to Lauren. Although she keeps on saying one thing. She's like, she has some new rhyme. She said, "Don't matter that I'm late because I'm trying to do such and such."
She's trying to save souls.
Yeah, but if I'm paying 100 and change.
I want to speak on that too, man, because one time she was late in Atlanta, and I happened to know she actually showed up at my niece's school. They had a special event, and she showed up to that particular event, and she stayed and took pictures with all of the youth, the 7th and 8th graders at that particular school, inspired them and took pictures with them, shook their hands, hugged them, and so on and so forth. And then there was a report the next day in the newspaper that she was 2 hours late for the concert, and people were complaining and all that. She never said a thing about stopping at this school or whatever. So I salute her because of the fact I understand, folks spent money, but at the same time, I imagine all the hearts and the souls that she inspired by dealing with these inner city youth and actually saying, look, I got time for you.
I'm just saying, can you just get a scheduler though? Just get a schedule to. Hey, you can do both things. It's an and or. It's not an and or. You can do both of those. Even if I pay like $200 for that ticket.
I'm saying, yo, I'll catch y'all later.
No doubt. Salute, man. Hey, man, listen to the remix. Come out talking that junk. We bring Lauren on here. You're gonna be like, Miss Boogie.
I will. At the feet, son. At the feet. At the toes. Love Lauren.
You know what a sellout. Hey man, you got a guest coming up, man. What the deal?
I do. Yeah, we're gonna talk. Mentioned this earlier. Apparently today is all things criminal injustice complex. We're gonna talk about in Atlanta what's going down with this new training facility they're trying to get built here. And this sister, her name is Jasmine. She's been on the front lines of fighting this training facility. Is euphemistically called Cop City. So we're going to dig a little deeper into what that is and how folks can fight against it and why it's a wrong that's being done in conjunction with Atlanta politicians who claim to be building a black Mecca, but they really building a black prison. So yeah, let's talk about
that. All right. So we'll be right back with Miss Jasmine. Is that correct?
I'm gonna give her full name, but that's a good start. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, give it to us. I think I heard on RFG yesterday on Diane Mathewit's show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Diane. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jasmine Burnett. That's right.
Okay. All right. You got it right this time. That was a test. Anyway, we'll be right back with Jasmine Burnett in the building. Remix.
Sister Jazz in the building. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm going to start off by giving a quick bio of who you are and the work that you do. So Jasmine is an Atlanta-based organizer, narrative builder, and creative producer. And she has led and supported the campaign to abolish the Atlanta Police Department, reallocate city funds from carceral systems into community programs, enhance local community engagement. And she is also the co-founder of the Spoons Consultancy, a Black woman-run and staff creative consulting cooperative that specializes in design thinking, brand narrative building, and high impact activations. She is also the organizing director for Community Movement Builders. So with all that said, thank you, Jasmine, again for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So I want to start by asking you about what, again, we euphemistically have been calling Cop City. And so our audience obviously extends outside of Atlanta. If you were to break down for folks what Cop City is, can you tell folks what that is?
Yes. So earlier this summer, Atlanta City Council attempted to pass an ordinance that would essentially give away over 300 acres of city-owned land to the Atlanta Police Foundation, which is essentially a conglomerate of corporate elites here in the city and supported by city officials. And they plan to use that land to build an urban warfare training facility for the Atlanta Police Department. So there will be explosive testings, a shooting range, and all of this we know is in direct response to the uprisings that happened last summer when folks were, taking to the streets to demand justice, specifically for Rayshard Brooks, who was murdered by the Atlanta Police Department, and larger calls for defunding and abolishing the Atlanta Police Department. And so basically they want a space to practice new ways to brutalize, harm, and kill Black people, and I think more broadly suppress liberation movements in the city.
And one of the things that they apparently tried to do was to sneak this through. So can you talk a little bit about what the process has been and how folks even found out that this training center was about to be something that was going to be ushered in through the city council?
Sure. So the ordinance was actually introduced the week after city council approved the 2022 budget. And during that budgetary process, a number of organizers in the city had been pressuring city council to actually defund the Atlanta Police Department. And so they passed a budget that actually expanded funding for APD. And then in the subsequent weeks, Joyce Shepard, who is the city council person for District 12, tried to sneak in this ordinance to give away this land with a lease that no city council person had even seen. And they believed that this would happen without notice. But because organizers had been so hyper-focused on the budget campaign, we were paying attention. And so she wasn't able to slide it through as discreetly as she was hoping. And so in the subsequent kind of public safety committee meetings and public finance committee meetings, there were opportunities for us to organize to prevent them from voting on it and ultimately prevent them from passing it in those moments.
And one of the things that they tried to do also was to have some fake public comments on Zoom and so forth. And can you talk about what's led to that? And I should also mention you're part of an organization called DARK. And so can you tell us a little bit about what DARK is, but then tell us about the process that they've used and some of the tactics, again, that DARK and other organizations who've been in a larger coalition have used to fight back and make sure that the public knows about this.
Sure. So yes, DARK is a campaign to defund the Atlanta Police Department and refund communities. So centered on abolition and the recognition that police, we know, don't keep us safe. We keep each other safe, and we actually need more resources and to be able to support ourselves to prevent the type of quote unquote crime that the city is currently obsessed with. And so, yes, city council attempted to have a farcical public comment period where essentially they recruited people to come onto a Zoom line, muted everyone's microphones, prevented folks from being able to give actual input. And so the session was essentially the Atlanta Police Foundation providing a presentation to justify why this center was necessary without actually allowing residents to speak. And so to combat that and to show what actual public comment and public engagement looks like, DARK and coalition members, including Community Movement Builders, Sunrise Movement, and the Democratic Socialists of America, came together to host an actual town hall where we could hear what community members wanted, how they felt about the training facility, And we heard resounding no's. Folks in community did not want this. And we heard similar things when we would canvass every single weekend, both in Joyce Shepard's district, since she's the one that introduced the ordinance, but also in the community near where the training facility would be built. And overwhelmingly, people did not know about this plan for the urban warfare training facility. When we did tell them about it, they were alarmed, not only because of the environmental impacts of the facility, the runoff from the explosive testings and the gun ranges being right in their backyard, but also because, they intimately understand the connection between policing and repression of their communities. And so while city council has pretend consensus that this is what people want, we know as organizers from actually talking to communities that folks, one, don't know about it. And when they do know about it, they're upset and don't want it.
Yeah, I moderated the town hall and it was overwhelmingly opposed to this so-called training center. And we actually had, every comment and hitting from all aspects, like you said, hitting from the environmental concerns to the police misconduct, brutality concerns, to the training center, the squash movements concerns. Every aspect was covered. Not one person, and it was a room of over 100 people that there was social distancing in, but over 100 people, not one person commented that they were in support of this training center. And surprisingly, we actually had a couple of elected officials, city council people come to the meeting. And my next question is, at the beginning of this process, it seemed like it was going to sail through without a hitch. The way the city council was approaching this, if I remember my numbers, was 16-0, that it seemed like we're going to in support of this. But because of the organizing that you and others have had, can you tell us where we're at with this process in terms of the city council, maybe not giving up exactly, but seeming to trying to take some more careful steps, let's say, in terms of how they try to push this through because of the backlash that's taken place?
Sure. So during the last city council vote, when we did expect that it would kind of just pass easily, given what we know about city council and their support for policing in the city, they actually tabled it. So they're going to revisit the vote on September 7th. And we obviously see this as a win. We did not expect them to table it, but at the same time, we understand that their strategy over the next 3 weeks is to manufacture consent around this. So they recognize that their sham of a public comment process, that residents recognize that. And so they're trying to build a public narrative that they've heard from community, that since the vote, they've listened, and are planning to actually host more fake public comment sessions to be able to generate that false narrative. So we'll be continuing with our same efforts to actually amplify the voices of residents who, like you mentioned, overwhelmingly don't want this, and to continue to actually talk about the realities that more policing does not actually keep communities safe. It only serves to protect the interests of the elites here in this city.
And you brought this up earlier. It seems like to me, the elites in not only Atlanta, but across the country, right? These political elites, these government elites, they seem to be trying to shift the narrative since the social justice movements back to a pro-cop narrative, right? Can you speak a little bit about how you think that shifting is happening, how you see that happening in terms of your own work? Because last year, it wasn't like these folks were actually trying to defund either. But last year, the conversation was on a table around shifting some funds. This year, the conversation seems to be more about, quote unquote, supporting the police, more resources and so forth. So you talk a little bit about how you see that shift happening.
Yeah. So, these politicians are only concerned with their ability to be reelected and to capitalize on campaign funds. So they'll do whatever it takes to stay in office. Last year, it was popular to generally support the concept of reallocating funds, even though we know none of them were committed to actually doing that, given that the 2022 budget passed with an increased funding to APD. And now, because of the pandemic, folks are struggling. They've capitalized on this false narrative of, increasing crime in the city. And so they've latched onto that to be able to justify increased resources to the Atlanta Police Department under, the false correlation that more policing would somehow make people more safe. When we know that's not true, there's no research that actually shows that more policing reduces quote unquote crime. And I think largely it's important to also emphasize what we mean and what we talk about when we speak of crime. We know that police are here to enforce laws that criminalize those that push back against capitalism. So they'll arrest the person who stole groceries from Walmart, but have no type of energy for, the corporations that practice wage theft for their workers. And so being able to articulate that narrative to city council members, having them hear that, and then still seeing them make wrong decisions around public safety here in the city just kind of underscores that they're not really thinking about the best interest of community. They're focused on what they need to say to get reelected. And because a bunch of white people in Buckhead are upset that their wealthy haven, is experiencing crime, they're all hyper-focused on supporting the perceptions of those white folks, which means more money to policing.
Can you tell us a little bit about if folks wanted to know more information, to get involved, how they can get that information, or where they should go looking for all that?
Sure. Yeah. So if they go to atldsa.org/stopcopcity, that has a really good timeline of kind of the history of the movement and also kind of ongoing events until the vote on September 7th. So they can find ways to plug in directly there. Lots of opportunities to canvass, lots of opportunities to leave public comment. And I'm assuming, just based on our coalition, that there will also be opportunities to plug into some direct actions as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, it's a slight switch. We didn't talk a little bit more about you. How did you get involved? You are such a dynamic organizer. I've only known you for a short time period, but, been thoroughly impressed by your skills and stuff like that. How did you get involved in organizing on this issue and other issues in your community?
Sure. So I'm from Atlanta. I grew up in Southwest Atlanta. And when I moved back to the city for grad school, I was studying urban planning. So anti-gentrification work, housing work has always been kind of core to the mission that I see and my value add, I think, to community. And last summer, I linked up with some other organizers to start DARK, the campaign to abolish the Atlanta Police Department. And so this Stop Cop City campaign kind of happened right after we had wrapped up our budget campaign, and obviously Cop City directly related to issues of abolition. And so it kind of felt just like a natural campaign for us to start. And obviously, I joined CNB earlier this year too. And, the work to stop gentrification in Pittsburgh specifically is also directly connected to reducing the scope of policing. Police enforce gentrification and kind of keep that cycle going. And so I think it was just natural to invite both organizations to be a part of coalition and to kind of, bring those people together to create the work that we're doing now.
That's fantastic. So Jasmine, I want to thank you so much for, I know you have a hard stop soon. So I want to thank you so much for coming on with us. We'd love to have you back on again. And Jasmine, again, does great work with DARK. She is the organizing director for Community Movement Builders. And she is leading the battle to stop Cop City, as we call it here in Atlanta. And she is doing great work on that. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me. Take care.
Peace. Yeah, I like the new generation of organizers, man.
Oh yeah, definitely sharp, man. It's good to it's refreshing to see a lot of these folks who are coming with a improved angle. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. Definitely shout out to Jasmine and all of these young organizers who are serious about our work. That's what we need. We need more. We need more folks who are focused and not just angry for the sake of angry. We have to hone in on what the issues are and not just say we're not going to take it anymore. We got to be clear about what it is we're fighting for. So definitely, salute to her and others who are putting in that community work. I want to point out real quick when Kamal and Jasmine and a number of other folks mentioned Pittsburgh. They're talking about a section here in Atlanta. It's not the city of Pittsburgh, because I've seen in the chat on several occasions folks thinking that you're actually talking about the city of Pittsburgh. So there's a section in Atlanta, which is the Pittsburgh section, which is, I believe, the first liberated zone as far as free enslaved people. The first area that they established.
I know in 1883 it was established as a section of Atlanta that was founded by formerly enslaved Africans, and so it became a community that folks founded, lived on. It was a way to get away from overt or direct, attacks by white folks. And, for the longest time, that section of Atlanta, that in Southwest Atlanta where it's located, was sort of that part of that haven community that, where there was segregation. So there was middle class Black folks, working class, poor Black folks, all living together and trying to survive. And, post the civil rights movement, again, when things opened up and you had folks who had resources who then decided to move out of Pittsburgh and spread around different areas of the city, it became really a working class and poor neighborhood for Black folks, one that is currently under the pressure of gentrification, as all Atlanta is, as all major cities are, because it's one of the last few areas that is like an intact working class, again, and poor Black community, but is under severe pressure of gentrification. We've talked about it previously, where houses that used to sell for $50,000 are now going literally spaces for $750,000, literally $750,000.
Did you mention why it was called the Pittsburgh section? I don't know if
No, we didn't mention it, but quickly, because of the industrialized nature of some of the area. It had smokestacks, and it started to resemble Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is, obviously more well known. And so then it's partly why it acquired its name of Pittsburgh out here.
Right. So for those of you who are unaware and you've been to Atlanta, it's right around the corner from the West End. Some people will confuse it with the West End, which is the quote unquote cultural hub of Atlanta. Anyway, yes. Good interview, sir.
She made it easy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I can't say too often that just when I meet folks who are in their 20s, maybe early 30s at this stage, and they have a great analysis around what they're doing. She snuck in some words. She spoke really eloquently, so she snuck in some words. Basically talking about socialism and capitalism and so forth and so on. So when they have that analysis and they base their work on that analysis, and they do stuff at the city level and at the neighborhood level, it's nothing but praise due. You know what I'm saying? So she made that interview easy.
And that is very important what you just said, because of the fact that most of the times when folks are talking about, they mention capitalism and socialism, so on and so forth, they look at it from a broader scale. You talk about from the international or a national level, but it has to trickle down to the community. In fact, it must begin in the community. You understand what I'm saying? Because that is the perfect example of how you build models to grow from, not just talk about what we need to do on the international level, and making it easy for the people to recognize. Because oftentimes, man, these terms sound good, but if you can't show them in a practical manner, right on the ground, right where they are, then it's like, it's a foreign language.
That's right. And if it doesn't inform your work, right? If that analysis doesn't inform your work, then basically, you might as well be just sitting in your home reading a book, right? Because the important thing is how that analysis informs how you do your work, what you do, and the models you're trying to create, what you're trying to destroy, and your battle vis-a-vis the state, right? That has to inform all of it. Otherwise, you're going to just get caught up in thinking, oh, if I pass some simple policy, then everything is going to be good.
Right. You know what? We have a few minutes. I think that we should talk about activating the analysis, because I think that, like you said about sitting home, it's like you're just reading a book and it's in your own bubble, because of the fact that oftentimes without organization, it pretty much, how can I say this? To a great extent, it takes the teeth out of what it is we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And we run the risk of becoming paper tigers, as Miles spoke about, because of the fact that we're talking tough in theory, but our practice isn't there. So Paper Tiger is not necessarily just from a military perspective, but it's an organizational and operational perspective as well, because of the fact that you have to be able to take what it is, take your theory and turn it into practice. And if we're not able to turn our theory into practice, then we'll remain where we are right now. Even with policy, when we talk about policy is not just you write something on a piece of paper and it just floats out in the air and I'm just a bill. You know what I'm saying? It takes some action behind that policy in order to enforce and reinforce it.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, that's when, again, we hit on earlier some of the work that SNCC did, and obviously the Black Panther Party a little bit later than that. But
Republic of New Africa. Yeah.
Republic of New Africa, like those folks took those politics to communities. They had those politics, they had that analysis, and that informed how they did their work, right? So when SNCC did Freedom Schools, part of Freedom Schools was to talk about the capitalist model and teach Marxism to sharecroppers, right? Folks who were day-to-day workers. They tried to break it down and do popular education in a way that people had an understanding of their role as labor within a larger market, right? People don't do that kind of organizing today to the extent needed to really start to wake folks up around the idea that, again, this isn't just about, like you said, this isn't just about strictly getting some policy bills passed. This is really about how the system and how the state operates vis-a-vis working class and poor people, particularly Black working class and poor people, and what's our role. And then that gives us the tools to fight back against the state, right? So that's why it's so important to bring that analysis right down to the community and to work with folks where they're at, because otherwise, again, we're just asking those who have no vision, a lot of these elected officials who have no vision, as Jasmine mentioned, except to get reelected. We can't leave our struggle in their hands, because then there's no way that they're going to do anything but turn on us on a moment's notice in order to keep their jobs, to keep their position, and so forth. So we got to continue that struggle and that fight to bring this back down to the local levels and get folks on the ground to understand what the fight is so that they can be engaging in it.
And this is how we started working together, based on the work, based on the practice. The practice is just as important as the theory. The theory is necessary because of the fact that we have to have the ideology. We have to know what lane we're in, because of the fact that if we're not on the same page, we at least have to be in the same book. And if we're not in the same book, then we have a problem. We can't have one cat over here talking about we're Black capitalists and the other one talking about we're socialists, because of the fact that the contradictions will cause things to come to a serious halt. And those contradictions will ultimately destroy us wholeheartedly. And that's part of the issue that we have here in America today, because of the fact that you have these aspiring capitalists, you have these folks, these petty bourgeois Negroes who would like to be a part of the bourgeois class, but they don't own the means in production. They don't, their wealth doesn't dictate the distribution, or doesn't assist in building distribution channels. So we're trapped, and you get caught up in, well, this is the first Black president, and and this is the first Black billionaire. I mean, it's amazing taking a page from Jared Ball's book. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the fact that we're still walking around talking about the first Black billionaire, when the average white billionaire we know, has multiple billions of dollars, multi-billionaires. I'm talking about cats who are into the 100 and 200 billion dollar spot, whereas someone like a JayZ or a Dr. Dre looks like us, in the grand scheme of things. So we have to go beyond, as they say, money's not power, self-determination is power.
Or that the idea, again, of the analysis, that's the idea we should be striving for, is more billionaires.
Right.
Like that somehow frees the rest of us, or sets the rest of us up for having, like you said, self-determination, for having shared resources, right? All that billionaire, that those 2, 3, 4 billionaires do is hoard wealth and then feed back to us the propaganda that this is the lifestyle that we need to acquire, right? So that's why that analysis is so important, so that we understand that we don't care the fact that that person is a billionaire. That person needs to be stripped of their billions.
That's right.
Those resources need to be redistributed to the very people who helped make that money in the first place, and whatever money is that folks do have actually needs to be taxed at an appropriate rate, so that people can have health care, that people can have education, so that people can have opportunities to fulfill their own purposes in life. And it's not just working for you or marveling at you or buying the products that you put out there that you tell us are going to make us whole. Those things won't make us whole. They'll make us poor, right? They make us hoes. They don't make us whole, right? So we need to figure that. We need to fight and figure that out. We can only do it with the proper analysis around how capitalism works, and what the alternatives to capitalism should look like, and how that should inform our struggle on the ground.
Hey man, look here, man. There should be no $1 million or $1 billion socialists around here. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you got it like that, then that means that the people around you should have it like that. And when I say the people around you, I'm talking about when you hop in your vehicle and you cruising through the neighborhood or whatever, everyone should be eating. Everyone should be, under some type of shelter. Their clothing should be in order. And like you said, their health care should be on point. But we live in a society where we still, in the quote unquote conscious community, the revolutionary community, the movement, the workers themselves can't afford health care. Peep that, man. We're in a society. I remember one time, as far as FTP in the early days, we were doing our Feed the People program, and we were so dedicated as youngsters in our efforts to feed the people that sometimes we would actually go home and we're like, oh shit, because we had a community house. We lived in a co-op type situation, and we would look in the refrigerator and we forgot to feed ourselves. You know what I mean? So we just fed 200-300 people, and then we go home and the cupboards are empty. You know what I mean? So it was good in theory. You know what I'm saying? We thought good, but self-preservation is the first law. So, we have to work towards a unified African scientific socialism front so that we can be clear about our culture, because we're clear that culture is our weapon. You understand what I'm saying? And on top of that, we got to be clear of our politics. You know what I mean? I kind of, I look at some folks, because we have a lot of white allies, so to speak. I'm not talking about the comrades, but some white allies who, when they talk about the issues, they talk about poor and working class. That's cool. I unite with that. But if your tongue can't say African people, if your tongue can't say Black people, then I have a problem with that. Because of the fact that we are, unfortunately, the most oppressed people on the planet. So don't just put us in one basket and say, okay, everybody's in this bag right here, but then you're able to advance off of your particular issues.
Or fall back into that old trope that, that we're all in it at the same level, right? Because that's just not. So of course there's working class and poor white folks that need to understand and fight against the capitalist system. But somebody's got to do that work, because right now, far too many of them buy into the current system and see themselves as protecting it, as getting something out of it that makes them anything but on the lower end of the rung, which is where we are as Black folks. And so a lot of times those working class white folks have sold us out, because they're too interested in being coddled or cuddled up to that white wealth that, again, they brought into, thinking that they too can get that when they're suffering too. And as opposed to joining forces, they align with the capitalist class. And so we have to be able to understand that history and then figure out, all right, white folks, how do y'all go out and solve that problem, right? Because we got our own problems to solve, and how do we unite as comrades and work together where we can work together? But let's not just act like we are going to do it together, as in there's not differences that are important differences that need to be discussed, debated, and find some solutions to, because there's no way that we're going to just go into this. So that's always the thing. We back your organizing, you see these white socialists and communist groups trying to walk in the hood, and you're like, it's not going to get it up in here, yo. That's not going to get it up in here. Fall back. Why you ain't up in Appalachia? Or if there's some work to be done, let's figure out how we're going to do it. And you're going to do your part where you need to do it. We're going to do our part where we need to do it. And how do we come together to make sure that folks see that it's a bigger united circle, right? Because it's going to take a lot of us to fight this monster. And so we got to figure out those ways, but we can't, like you said, we can't dumb it down to even suggest that somehow that the working class, the white working class, has been on the side of the Black oppressed. They've actually got themselves positions
right.
helping to keep us oppressed, i.e. going back to those stories about some of the prison labor, the prison guards, and who they work for, and obviously not exclusively white by any stretch of the imagination, but who they work for and how they gain their resources, will make their living off of our oppression.
Hey, man, and that's why today we celebrate David Gilbert, you know what I'm saying, the release of Laura Whitehorn. That's why we need more of them. We need more Marilyn Bucks, more Sylvia Berardinis, you know what I'm saying, and Bernadette Dorn, so on and so forth. So we appreciate that particular class of white folks who said, look, we're going to ride and we're going to support African Revolution. This is the Remix Morning Show. We appreciate you all coming on today.
True.
Renegade Takeover.
The
You know
R,
what I mean?
the E, the N, the E, the G, the A, the D, the E. It's
Renegade.
Remix.
Word up. Hey, yo, see, I used to didn't say it on Renegade, but it's cool.
I appreciate it.
We out of here. Remix Morning Show. Black Power Media. Black out.